Alright guys, so we're going to go over some gameplay from Mahiroo today, and I'm going to give you my thoughts on it and just explain like what the state of the character is essentially. So, as you can see, this character does play very well at angles and range. So you're able to toss little shots down at range into enemies when you're not having to be completely like exposed to them. You're going to get a pretty decent amount of value. And that's generally what the strength is. Like right here, you can see me just tossing it here, throwing it into the corner, and doing a decent amount of damage when like the shots actually land. The question really that you have to concern yourself with on this character is essentially about how it's a projectile character in a hit scan world, and unfortunately, you're going to end up feeling that a lot when you're playing the character. You're going to end up feeling like you're just not able to output the same sort of capability that other characters are. It does have some extra nice little capabilities here, like as you saw there, you saw me use my little cartwheel ability to get around and get away when I got damaged too much. There, nice little ranged ability. Does some damage too and lets you access high grounds, which is nice. And then I popped my other ability, which gives you wall sights. You'll see me use it all the time in this gameplay because it's on a short cooldown. It gives you personal sights and lets you end up just seeing enemies around you. As you can see there, I have sights on everyone here. Now my team doesn't, and it doesn't let you ping people through walls. I try it later in this clip, but it's still very powerful of an ability for yourself. It's just that unfortunately, like the damage numbers on this character are pretty low. You're looking at only doing about 300 damage with a shot here. You see 1, 2, 3, and we don't kill it. It takes 4 shots to kill the Ashimar. So if you're looking at a situation like that, you're kind of looking at having a lot lower capability to properly duel things. We do have an interesting little, fight here with this guy. We both end up trading each other's lives for this. But if I was on a different character there, I would have finished him on that. If I did about 50 more damage, I would have probably been able to finish it earlier. So not only does this character struggle with the fact that it's a projectile character, granted they are fast and they have a decent sized hitbox, but it really struggles with just the reality that it's playing in a fast-paced game. Its E ability also, the one that I just used there, is just honestly pretty terrible. It gives you a lot of issues with like I show it right here. I show the max range of it. That's like the max range of it, and it makes you stay in one spot and it bugs out. Later in this clip, you'll see some really buggy gameplay of it. I'm sure you guys will probably forget about it, but then it'll show it and it'll be crazy here. In fact, it might even happen like right here. But pop this, give me sights, make sure I'm looking around to see where the enemy are when I do get the sights. These explosives don't actually do too well against shields, I found out. A lot of shields can do a solid amount of blocking with that sort of stuff. And it does less than you'd expect, essentially. Like, you probably expect it to cleave through or something like that, but it doesn't. It doesn't cleave through, and it definitely doesn't just do a massive amount of damage to someone who's putting up a shield. So that's what we're looking at essentially, and we're looking at also unfortunately getting killed by a Turning Gundam ultimate. But in these sort of situations, like the ultimate's powerful, but as you see, it has like kind of a long cast range. Like I toss it, but then it doesn't open up and the shots don't fully spread out until like a decent range. So if you're trying to use it close range, yeah, okay, right here, guys. Right here you see it. This beautiful usage of the ability that completely just entirely bugs out. No idea what happens here. Go to toss it, we hit it right there, and then, oh, and bam, we're dead. Interesting little gameplay here. Something that I was also going to talk about in this that's not entirely 100% related to Mahiroo, but on these King of the Hill maps, it's super important to play understanding about how you can actually get advantage of the objective. Like knowing that you can't really take advantage of an objective that's about to be over is a good thing for you to understand, because of just the reality that if there's only 15% left on it, 15 seconds left for it to take down, you're not going to get anything out of that. Even if you take the fight, it's going to take 10 seconds to take the fight minimum. You win that, you cap it, you get 5 ticks worth out of it. Not worth it, right? Definitely not worth ulting on. Like in this situation, obviously we're in overtime, so it's worth going in for some of these things, and we do end up getting the win here, but it's just not too crazy. On this map in particular, this has a very weird little situation for B here, you have two primary options, walking in through the top or going in through the main chokes. And they're both pretty bad. If you go in through the top right here, you're going to get surrounded by all sides. If you go in through the main choke, you can get stuffed pretty hard. So, in my opinion, the best way to do it is to take from one of the far sides. So take from the middle of one of the other points. As you can see here, I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to go and rotate after I shoot at this guy, and I'm going to drop in through here. This gives me multiple options, so two directions, and it puts me in a place that's not nearly as risky. This is also like a really good time for how to use this sort of ability. Not that one, but the sights ability, right? This is also like the only way you can really use this little explosive ability is to toss it around a corner when you think something's going to walk out onto it. But even then you're losing like uptime. Like I could be tossing grenades against a wall. So it's honestly just like, in most situations, I really wouldn't even recommend using the ability in the first place. It's just pretty subpar, to be completely honest. Like, just with how clunky it is, the lack of range, the fact that a stun locks you, like you're literally just taking a stun by doing it, right? And that's just not ideal in the slightest. Again, I was going for those from too far of a range. You have to make sure you're actually, hitting them before you go for that kind of a thing. But yes, like, and this is what I was talking about earlier. So we capture it, we're fighting, great. We went here at about, 25 or something like that. And now we get 4% on the point here. I wanted to test if you could jump up through like that, but you can't. But we get nothing out of it, and like, what's the point? And some of us, I'm sure, ulted. There's just a complete lack of point for really doing that. Like, I would definitely trade 4% for having a better setup on the next objective. When right now, probably we're going to go in and not be able to get a good fight, or we're going to get beat, or things are going to flank us like they're doing right now, because we're kind of standing in just like random places. We're not able to get the value out of holding a high ground or positioning early that we should. So in these type of game modes, it's really important to do it. Although as you can see right there, that was a really good usage from that ability, but that's going to be, me just cleaning up two easy little kills. It's not really like, it's not me just taking advantage of a powerful ability. So right now, if they're the enemy team, for example, like this is a viable fight to take. Only 35% left on it. That's fine. Takes about 10 seconds, 50 seconds to take the fight. And let's say they cap it at like 20%. That's worth it. But if it's starting off at 25 right now, that's not going to be the most valuable of a fight to take. Like for us right now, retaking this, we insta retook it, so it's valuable then. But assuming we're pushing back in with 25 seconds on the change timer, it's just not valuable at all. You won't get anything out of it really. Like, it's just, you're picking up, you're salvaging, you're sacrificing everything to try and pick up little crumbs when you have like a full meal elsewhere, essentially is how you can think about it. Something that's also kind of frustrating about the way that the game works, but also the way that the character works, is about the fact that you can't heal yourself if you're firing. And as you saw right there, I had to sit there and wait, and I showed it for the clip. But I sat there and had like about 3 seconds of downtime, and because I was doing that, I didn't have the ability to be firing. This character is one of the many characters that is all about uptime, and just not being able to sit there spamming these abilities will make it so your character does drastically less than they should be able to. So that's something I'd honestly like to see them change in the game. Just because of the fact that you can't really take advantage of how the character is supposed to be run, just because of the fact that you don't heal if you're still firing. Now, I'm more than happy for you to be able to not heal if you're taking damage. It makes a lot of sense. But if you're just firing and not taking damage, in my opinion, that's still good gameplay, and that should be rewarded. So on this character, you suffer for that. Because like I'm at 620 HP, and for me to stop shooting to deal with it, it's going to take me like 5 seconds right now to get a full restore on HP. But it's just not good, right? It's a huge loss of value, and that's just not how I think the game should be run. But this also is part of why Mahiroo isn't really the best. Like in the end, Mahiroo really does kind of end up being a projectile character in a hit scan world, and ends up kind of suffering for that. Like, it's not so bad that I'm saying, oh, never touch this character. There's some maps where, you know, you can get good value out of it, but in regards to like a pro scene sort of level or like a min-maxing characters, there's really no reason you'd want to pick this character. It's just like, I've played maps where I'm sitting there on Harbor and I'm absolutely chunking enemies with damage like non-stop with every shot, using my ult, doing the same thing, and yet things just like sometimes are dying, but usually they're just not really dying, you know. Granted, I was playing against a unicorn, so that's probably why they weren't dying, but that just kind of goes to show how this character functions. Yeah. This character also does, you know, thrive well from high grounds. The higher you are, the easier it is to hit your shots, because you can toss your shots down at an enemy versus having to shoot up. And if you shoot down, you get bounces off walls and things like that. So that's a huge advantage. I went for the touch there. It didn't end up needing to do that, but you know, it's good to, like, if you're playing in a bunch of random matches with people you don't know and you're not communicating, if you get an opportunity to, if you're the one who's like responsible for doing that, or you feel like you are, you should just go for it. Even if you're a squishy, you know, it's better to trade your life and die than to have never gotten a touch point in the first place. It's obviously like one of these like choosing between the rock and the hard place kind of a situations, but it is something a decision must make nonetheless. So the grenades also do seem to have like a pretty decent like explosion distance and trigger capability when you do get near to enemies. That's why you see like once the grenades are like crawling around on the floor, like you've already shot them, they do have a lot of potential to deal like a solid amount of damage. As I was showing there, like right before in the little section of the clip, I was intentionally showing how some of the walls have weird things on them that stop you from bouncing them properly. Like they have like things that are supposed to be detailed, but essentially they end up like also deflecting shots strangely. So you can take a lot of advantage of like sighting enemies with the wall sights and then going behind them. Or you're not going to going behind them, but you know, shooting them off a wall sort of thing. But it ends up like not being super consistent because the shots don't really always bounce properly. Like I'm sure if you watch in this clip, you're going to see me shooting things and you're going to see me shoot against a flat wall and it'll still bounce sometimes. So there's always some weirdness with things like that. But this game has a little bit more than is standard, I would say. And that doesn't affect any other characters at all, but it affects Mahiroo pretty decently. Because the character also has pretty low HP, you're going to be suffering from get rolled by Exia syndrome sort of a thing. You do have to be cautious about that. You will be kind of just hanging out and then all of a sudden you have one of these things just burst onto you and blow you up. You do have to be aware of that, and that's also why this character has this like flanker sighting ability. But you still have to keep like careful of it nonetheless. One of the best times to use this ability that gives you sights is when you expect the enemy to push you like that. So if you're sitting there and you're like, it's been like this much time since a flanker's been by me, like I don't know where that guy is, I don't see him. Let's scout. Let's see if they're nearby. And that sort of thing is going to let you see where they are. Here you're going to see how the range works on this thing, my ultimate. It has a like strange explosion distance a little bit. Like it doesn't shoot out immediately as 6 grenades. It shoots as 1 and then explodes into 6. And so it can be not like quite as effective as you want it to be a lot of times. I do end up using this in a little bit of a funky location. So, you know, I'm not blaming everything that happens on the ultimate, but you guys will see what will happen with that in particular. Again, here's me going in from an alternative angle. I was trying to get into a better location, but I kind of ended up going through a lower section, which is not good for my character. I should have stayed in the high ground. I tried to see if I could get up there, you know, but you can't. You don't jump quite high enough. I do bounce it off the ceiling. I'm getting a little bit decent damage in, and I do end up securing this kill here. So, yeah, actually, I just dealt a healthy amount of damage. Didn't really end up securing a kill with that. But, you know, it's still solid nonetheless. Like, the ultimate's strong, don't get me wrong. Especially if the enemy's grouped up. If, like, the map's decent at all for it, you'll get a good value out of it. But not in that instance. For these sort of situations too, you really want to make sure that you are actually picking up reses. Reses are very, very powerful. There's times to res and there's times not to res, but a lot of times you can get away with it because people don't punish it. The lower of a rank you are, and typically in casual matches, right, people aren't really always the highest skill level, you can get away with it pretty decently just because people won't finish the kills. But the opposite way of viewing that is that you do really also need to make sure that you are getting you guys see that right there, nice little chase down kill, but that you are making a good decision about which kills you finish or not. Like for example, let's just say you're ulting on Pale Rider and you're ulting into a group of enemies of like 4 and you're fragging and you get 1 and you get a second, but there's 2 more to kill and they're shooting at you. Should your priority at that moment be finishing a kill? No. But if you're like 1 HP, should your priority be finishing the kill? Yes, because they can't res the finished kills. But if you kill and you make it so there's like 2 of them downed when you had 1 of them down before, they could potentially res each other if they kill you. But if you're able to finish off the 2 that were down, it's guaranteed 2 kills. So it's like a decision-making process to do. It really, a lot of it has to do with like how likely are they to get resed. And if they're likely to get resed, then you kill them. Or if it's like a really important one. For example, like if a Sazabi gets down behind a corner, it's going to get resed. And so you want to go and stop that. If there's a situation more like, no enemies are around them and you just finish them, don't worry about trying to kill them. But if they are, like if there's nothing better for you to be doing, then go on ahead and kill them because you get extra ult charge from it. And ult charge is a massive part of this game. If you're looking for some more Gundam Evolution videos, then make sure to check out my mobile suit guides. I made one for all original to 14 mobile suits, and I did a Should You Main guide series also, covering the same mobile suits and talking about whether you should actually main them in Gundam Evolution or not.